Let's bring in Shane Martínez now, live from Toronto in Canada. He's a human rights and criminal defence lawyer. Shane, thank you very much for your time and for speaking to us here at TRT World. What are we to make of the targets being hit in Iran by both the US and Israel from a human rights point of view, as well as an international law point of view? Bridges, medical research centres, right at the start of the war, the school in Minab, and now Trump's threat to strike power plants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think what we need to do is we need to keep in mind that the basic rule that's established by the Geneva Conventions is that of distinction, which means that at all times there has to be a distinction between civilians and combatants, between civilian objects and military objectives. The principle of proportionality as well, which is also enshrined in customary international humanitarian law, is being entirely ignored by both the United States and Israel here. Even if there is a legitimate military target, it cannot be attacked if the expected civilian harm exceeds the relative anticipated military advantage. And what we have is a situation where objects which are indispensable to the survival of the civilian population, agriculture sites, water, bridges, hospitals, and so on, are being consistently attacked. Not only are those violations of the Geneva Conventions, but they can also amount to war crimes as well under the Rome Statute, under Article 8. So what we see here is not just a pattern of criminality on the part of the United States and Israel, but also a pattern of criminal intent, which is being made quite clear. Comments, for example, such as Trump's threat to send Iran back to the Stone Age. That's quite clear criminal intent behind the United States' actions when it's combined with a threat to take out power plants, desalination plants, and so on. So really what we're seeing is very brazen criminality with express intent.
So as you point out, Trump saying things like, quote, I'm going to send Iran back to the Stone Age. Is this demonstrating that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth included have no intention of abiding by international law?
That's correct, and I don't think they have since the beginning. What we have to remember is that this attack, at its very core, is a violation of international law. It's the crime of aggression. They attacked Iran to undermine Iran's national sovereignty and independence, and to destabilize it for purely political reasons. This is a war crime through and through. The statements that are coming out now from Pete Hegseth, from Donald Trump, that just goes to clarify the intent, much in a similar way as we saw statements of genocidal intent being made by Israeli officials with respect to Gaza. Here we're seeing similar statements of criminal intent with respect to Iran. And it just goes to illustrate that this has been an entirely illegitimate criminal and illegal war by the US and Israel since the very beginning.
You point out Israel and Gaza there, Shane. This appears to be all too common in modern warfare. Israel repeatedly violating international law in Gaza, as you point out there. But what consequences are in place, or is that the problem here, that in the International Court of Justice, for example, takes years? And Israel and the US, who isn't even party to it, they know that. So that presumably is the problem, in conjunction with the fact that the Geneva Convention isn't even enforceable, really, is it?
Well, what we're seeing right now is perhaps an unprecedented erosion of international law since October 2023, and just continuing to erode up until the present day. And it really does fall, the responsibility for this falls at the feet of other countries in the international community who have refused to step up and do anything about it. The Canadian government, for example, it's come out and it's condemned Israel's plans to militarily occupy southern Lebanon. What we know is that some Israeli officials are also saying that they want to completely annex southern Lebanon as well. And that's a realistic possibility. But what we see is nothing more than statements of condemnation from countries like Canada. What's being done about it? Nothing at all. Canada continues to, for example, allow Canadians to volunteer in the Israeli military. It allows arms exports to Israel. It engages in military-to-military cooperation with Israel, knowing that the Israeli military is under investigation by the ICC for war crimes and crimes against humanity. So we have these declarations from the West saying that we condemn these actions. We don't support what is happening right now. It needs to stop. There should be restraint, but there's no action following it to actually accomplish, to bring effect to international law. And actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. And until countries like Canada and others step up and stop the rogue criminal behavior by the US and Israel, it's going to continue. And for that reason, I think Canadians and people of conscience all over the world need to be looking beyond our own governments. We need to continue making demands of our own governments to do the right thing, but we need to look beyond our governments, and we need to look to the international community more broadly and look at countries that may be more inclined to step up and call upon them to intervene and to do something to bring this carnage to an end.
Shane, really appreciate your thoughts and your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.